All You Need Is Love is a song written by John Lennon and credited to Lennon/McCartney. It was first performed by the Beatles on Our World, the first live global television link. Watched by over 400 million in 25 countries, the program was broadcast via satellite on June 25, 1967. The BBC had commissioned the Beatles to write a song for the United Kingdom's contribution. Composition: the Beatles were asked to come up with a song with a message understood by everyone. It was an inspired song and they really wanted to give the world a message, said Brian Epstein. The nice thing about it is that it cannot be misinterpreted. It is a clear message saying that love is everything. According to journalist Jade Wright, Lennon was fascinated by the power of slogans to unite people and never afraid to create art out of propaganda. When asked in 1971 whether songs like Give Peace a Chance and Power to the People were propaganda songs, he answered, "Sure. So was All You Need Is Love. I'm a revolutionary artist. My art is dedicated to change." The band started work on recording the song on June 14, 1967, with Lennon playing harpsichord, McCartney on double bass, Harrison on violin, and Starr on drums. They recorded 33 takes on the 14th, choosing the 10th take as the best. Over the following days they recorded overdues including vocals, piano, banjo, guitar and orchestral parts. The day before the Our World broadcast, the Beatles decided that the song should be their next single. Released in the UK on July 7, 1967, it went straight to number 1 and remained there for 3 weeks. It was similarly successful in the United States after its release on July 17, reaching number 1 for a week. It was also included on the American LP version of Magical Mystery Tour in November as well as in the film, and on the LP Yellow Submarine, released in 1969. This song is also featured in the Cirque du Soleil's show Love, based on the songs of the Beatles, which has been performing in Las Vegas since 2006. The interviews on the Beatles anthology documentary series reveal that Paul McCartney and George Harrison were unsure whether the song was written for Our World. However, George Martin and Ringo Starr assert it was. When asked, McCartney replied, "I don't think it was written specially for it. But it was one of the songs we had. It was certainly tailored to it once we had it. But I've got a feeling it was just one of John's songs that was coming there. We went down to Olympic Studios in Barnes and recorded it and then it became the song they said, this is the one we should use. I don't actually think it was written for it." Musical structure: the song starts with the intro to the French national anthem, La Marseillaise, and contains elements from Glenn Miller's 1939 hit In the Mood, as well as elements from Wayne Shanklin's 1958 hit Chanson d'amour. The song is notable for its asymmetric time signature and complex changes. The main verse pattern contains a total of 29 beats, split into two 7/4 measures, a single bar of 8/4, followed by a 1-bar return of 7/4 before repeating the pattern. The chorus, however, maintains a steady 4/4 beat with the exception of the last bar of 6/4. The prominent cello line draws attention to this departure from pop single normality, although it was not the first time that the Beatles had experimented with varied meter within a single song. We Can Work It Out, and Strawberry Fields Forever are other examples. The song is in the key of G and the verse opens with a G chord and D melody note, the chords shifting in a OV/7/Vi chord progression while the bass simultaneously follows the tonic to the relative minor, but via and Fa in registered trademark. Indeed, throughout this song McCartney's bass implies many additional chords over those played by the other instruments. After the verse Learn How to Play the Game, It's Easy, the bass alters the prolonged V chord with F, E, C and B note modulations. The song is notable for a dramatic use of a dominant or V chord on It's Easy. The Love, Love, Love chant involves chords in OV/7/Vi shift and simultaneous descending B, A, G notes with the concluding G note corresponding not to the tonic G chord, but acting as an unregistered trademark third of the M chord. This also introducing the E note of the M chord as a sixth of the tonic G scale. supporting the same melody note with different and unexpected chords has been termed a characteristic Beatles technique. Producer George Martin recalled that the boys wanted to freak out at the end, and just go mad. During the long fade-out, elements of various other songs can be heard, including Grant Sleeves, Invention No. 8 in F major by J.S. Bach, In the Mood, and the Beatles' own 1963 hit She Loves You, the latter of which Paul sings. The former three pieces had been included in the arrangement by Martin, whilst She Loves You was the result of improvisation by Lennon in rehearsals. He had also experimented with interpolating Yesterday, and She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain. Live broadcast. The Our World broadcast cut to Abbey Road Studios at 8:54 p.m. London time, approximately 40 seconds earlier than expected. Producer George Martin and engineer Jeff Emerick were drinking Scotch whisky to calm their nerves for the task of mixing the audio for a live worldwide broadcast, and had to scramble the bottle and glasses beneath the mixing desk when they were told they were about to go on air. For the broadcast, the Beatles were seated on stools, accompanied by a small studio orchestra. They were surrounded by friends and acquaintances seated on the floor, many of whom were among the leading stars of the British pop scene, who sang with the refrain during the fade-out. Guests included Mick Jagger, Eric Clapton, Marianne Faithfull, Keith Richards, Keith Moon, Graham Nash, Mike McGear, Pattie Boyd and Jane Asher. The performance was not completely live. The Beatles, the orchestra, and guests were overdubbing onto a pre-recorded rhythm track mainly consisting of piano, harpsichord, drums, and backing vocals. The producers of Our World were initially unhappy about the use of backing tracks, but it was insisted upon by Martin, who said that we can't just go in front of 350 million people without some work. The full Our World segment opens with the band and company listening to the raw backing track, as commentator Steve Race explained the process in voiceover. The segment initially showed the band simulating a rehearsal or rough take for about a minute, before Martin suggesting that the orchestral musicians should take their places for the recording as the tape was rewound, followed by the band's performance with the orchestral section. Among a number of placards featuring the word love translated into a variety of languages, a sign was held up during the clip with the words "Come Back Millie," a plea to an aunt of McCartney's who was then in Australia visiting her son and grandchildren. She subsequently returned to the UK. Millie's husband Albert Kendall was later referred to in McCartney's solo single Uncle Albert Admiral Halsey. Lennon, affecting indifference, was said to be nervous about the broadcast, given the potential size of the international TV audience. Dissatisfied with his singing, he re-recorded the solo verses for use on the single. Starr also overdubbed drums before the single was released, fixing the aforementioned timing problems and adding the drum roll. The program was broadcast in black and white. The Beatles footage was colorized, based on photographs of the event, for the Beatles anthology documentary. U.S. chart run, Billboard Hot 100, reached number 1, becoming the band's 14th number 1 there. Cashbox, 27, 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 5, 9, 24. Personnel, John Lennon lead and backing vocals, harpsichord, banjo, Paul McCartney bass, double bass, backing vocals, George Harrison lead guitar, violin, backing vocals, Ringo Starr drums, percussion, George Martin piano, orchestration and production. David Mason piccolo trumpet, session musicians played strings, brass, woodwind and accordion as conducted by Mike Vickers. Friends and studio people made hand claps and sang background vocals. Personnel per Ian MacDonald and the Beatles Bible. Chart performance. Cover versions, also notable is the use of the song in the February 1, 2015 Super Bowl commercial for Ecuadorian tourism. The song is sung over images of Ecuador and the commercial ends by saying "All you need is Ecuador, Ecuador is all you need instead." Notes. References. External links: Alan W. Polak's notes on All You Need Is Love, cover together, All You Need Is Love cover versions, full lyrics of this song at Metro Lyrics.